So, the Okie Dokie explorers finally get out of their house and go on another excursion. Thank God. So today we are in Shattuck, Oklahoma, and after a satisfying meal at Gusto's Italian Grill and Pizza, which I highly recommend you try if you are ever in Shattuck, we got minorly distracted by some cool cars and rat rods, but we went to the Windmill Museum and Park. This is awesome. I have lived here in my entire life and have never been through the actual museum. I've walked through the park because it's open, but the museum has never been open at the same time that I've been there. Thankfully, this time we actually got to meet the man who keeps up with everything and is a complete wealth of information, Mr. Doug Shanehull. This museum and park was established in 1994 and now has over 37 windmills in it. No two alike, from a little 5-foot Star Zephyr to the big 18-foot Samson. Some are solid wooden wheels, others have wooden wheels that fold, many are unusual steel mills. All are in pumping order and have lifted water from beneath the earth at some point. Also on the grounds, you can see a furnished half-dug-out soddy, a pioneer home, and this memorial wall that we were looking at. Definitely recommend coming here. And now, enjoy the video.
The windmills, not me. But, no, the fella that came up with pumping water with a wheel came up with the wheel downwind design, and he liked that design real well, but it had a flaw. The wind came up, there was nothing to regulate the speed of the wheel, and they'd fly apart. And so his goal was to make a self-regulating wheel. And so actually David Halliday came up with the folding wheeled windmill. And I'll turn on that one, and you're in a good position
to see that? Okay.
To film straight up then. Yeah. Come back over here.
Oh, wow.
And every time I turn it on, the wind dies and it doesn't run. But it will. Guaranteed. Yeah.
Oh, I had no clue that could do that.
Yeah. Well, that's the run position.
There it goes.
Now we're going to catch a breeze.
Woo!
Okay. There you see it start to fold up. It's actually the hole in the middle gets bigger and more of the wind goes through without affecting the wheel.
Oh, wow.
So that one I've got the weight set, it'll run about 20 RPM maximum. And the second way they started regulating, these were most of the wooden wheeled windmills, the wheel is on the center line of the tower and they're direct stroke.
Right.
And so whenever the wheel goes one round, the pump stroke is once. And
okay.
So this here is an upwind wheel, and the way that it's regulated is it has a little tail that as the wind comes up, it turns the wheel out of the wind.
Okay.
So the wind is not blowing directly on the wheel. So that was kind of number two. That was number one. And then they started simplifying things. They figured out now if we have the wheel geared down, we don't have to have such a big wheel.
Okay.
So they started gearing down the wheel, but they did it with open gears, like that Dempster there or that air motor there. And
Okay.
the open gears, yeah, they required a lot of maintenance.
I was gonna say the wind and dirt and everything would just blow dirt in it.
After they started gearing down the windmills, they didn't have to have the wheel on the center line of the tower. So like that Andrew there, you can see, well, the bearing cap on the back.
Uh-huh.
It's offset to the one side. Well, the wind would blow against and it would automatically just turn the wheel out of the wind. And so the more the wind is hitting the side of the wheel, the less effective it is. There have been over 180 companies that had patents to build windmills.
Oh, wow.
And now we have one left. There, for a while we had Dempster was the last one before air motor.
Yeah.
And they actually went for 80 some years building windmills, and we've got one Dempster that's kind of unique. Have to get out of the way for the tree. It has a diamond tail on it. That was their 75th anniversary tail.
Okay.
And so that was in early 80s, and by the end of the 80s they quit making windmills. So. And we got a new addition. We have 3 Elgin windmills. They're Elgin Wonder is the first one. That's a Hummer Model L wood, Hummer Model L steel right here.
Oh, wow.
And they made that an option. You could get steel blades on it. I don't think it'll turn on. I haven't finished putting weight in the
That is just so cool.
Yep. Yeah, the folding wheel windmills are kind of unique. That's what a lot of people haven't ever seen them in the run position.
Right.
They wear out quickly, so they're left turned off.
There she goes.
Yeah.
So have there been any big storms that have come through the area and caused a lot of damage?
Oh,
Oh, yeah?
we in 19, I think, we about lost the big eclipse. Its stub tower broke out, and now I've got pictures of it hanging. But that eclipse, it broke the stub tower out. We rebuilt it, reinforced it, and we had a Dempster number 11 on the tower that's lacking something.
Yeah.
And it broke the stub tower out. Whenever it broke the structure that the stub tower was sitting on. And by the time we got it put back, we reinforced that part, and then it broke the actual stub tower. So the next big wind.
Oh.
And we have some other unique things in the park. Is the water wheel down there.
Mm-hmm.
Was on the Eggleston farm, south part of the county, and Eggleston had one of the first crawler tractors in the country.
Oh, really?
So he built a pond or a dam, and the springs on Little Rope Creek were strong enough, filled his pond. He was irrigating orchards, first peaches, and then later on apples.
Oh, wow.
And, he had water left over all the time, so.
Don't see that often out here.
Anyhow, he decided, well, everyone, their classifieds was the Kansas City Star newspaper. And if you were hunting something, that was the go-to place, you know.
Yeah.
He saw an ad for that water wheel in the Kansas City Star, ordered it out of Hanover, Pennsylvania. And whenever it came, of course it had the control gate and some flue stuff, and there's actually 3 more shafts that stack up gear drive from that to a big pulley to another little pulley to a big pulley, and then a generator.
Oh, wow.
And a feed mill. Any other stuff that came with that, it took, I don't know how big of wagons, but there were horse-drawn wagons that with a team on each wagon. But it took 6 of them to haul the stuff from Higgins down to
Oh, wow.
is where he had it ordered to come into.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyhow, he got it all assembled, and then the generator, you know, was 125 volt, but it was direct current, 2 kW, and electricity was free whenever the wheel was running, so he basically put in lots of lights and left them on.
Oh, really?
And that, whenever a cowboy would ride over the hill, they had a navigation point. They knew where they were.
Whenever they'd see those lights.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was the only artificial light in the country, so
Yeah.
they knew where they were. We're learning about windmills, you know. There's a Baker Manufacturing Company. This mill and this one are Baker windmills.
Okay.
Of course, that one's a Model L and that's a WC. And then, I thought that was a Baker. Well, the company that built it was Heller Aller, and the model name was Baker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All kind of stuff. The railroad eclipse, big mill there. built by Fairbanks Morse, was actually built for use along the railroad. And Santa Fe, when they put in this section of railway here, they wanted one every 7 miles.
Really?
And if you think about it, when you leave Woodward from the depot to Tangier, 7 miles.
Mm-hmm.
To Fargo was another 7 miles.
Yeah.
And to Gage,
Another 7 miles, yeah.
Shattuck.
Yeah.
And then Goodwin out here was not exactly 7 miles, but the terrain didn't fit for exactly 7. But where the terrain fit, the 7 miles was the deal.
Wow.
That the steam, they didn't need that much water. You know, they could go 50 some miles with a tender bar of water, but if one train filled up, say at Gage, the next one that came along, he had to fill up either at Shattuck or Fargo.
Right, right.
So, and the size tanks they had, they couldn't fill more than 2 trains, and there were days that went without wind, and so
yeah,
so they figured for the traffic they had, they needed a windmill every 7 miles.
Yeah.
Or a water source.
A water source of some sort.
Shattuck put in a light plant, they had electric pump, and so they had real reliable water here at Shattuck. They could fill here. They knew they had water when they came here.
Yeah.
And they, since they had reliable water here, they made a descaling plant here too. They'd pump them full of acid or some kind.
Oh, wow.
The locomotives to get the lime out of them.
Could get the lime out, yeah.
While I was a kid, there was kind of a ditch along the railroad track, the west side of town, and it was always just like whitewash in there, white. And finally asked Dad or someone, what's the deal there? Oh, that's where they descale the trains, the locomotives.
And dump it there. Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, I didn't either. We got a unique mill here that farmer built, and the reason he built it, it's a replica of mills that were used years ago. If a farmer or someone couldn't afford a mill, they'd build some way
Of pumping water, because you gotta have it. Oh, wow.
Now it ended up work. Over there you can see the pumping action.
Oh, okay.
I thought maybe since the wind was out at the north.
It's not gonna do it though. How clever. Wow. We've got some real ingenuity that runs in this part of the world.
Yeah. The other big mill down there is a Sampson, And there were a lot of them used later on, even as municipal type water wells. Like the city of Gage at one time had a 20-foot air motor windmill to provide their city water.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And we can walk toward the little house there.
All right.
Well, that's just in Had a Sears and Roebuck house.
Yeah, this one on the single pole here.
Kenwood.
Yeah.
That was a Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
that, you know, their appliances were Kenmore, and so I guess they stuck the Kenwood name on the windmill.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
That water tank right here came from south of town. Okay, there's the kind of how the setup was along the railroad.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's so neat.
This is the mill that got blown down.
Oh.
And that's just how crazy they get with windmills. On top of the building, there's the wind charger. 6
Oh.
the people could make their light with candles and lanterns, but if they wanted to listen to the radio, they had to have electricity.
Oh my goodness.
So,
And that's how they do it.
yep, that was the first use for that. It's a Zenith wind charger.
Wow.
Sure that it came with a Zenith radio.
Radio.
And that's one of the batteries. It took 3 of them to make 6 volt.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And that tank there used to sit right on top of this.
Okay, I've seen those still occasionally. They're getting more rare.
Yeah. That's the pictures of
Oh.
we had the breakdown on the.
Oh my goodness. They are ingenious, but they're also a lot of upkeep,
Yep.
especially when you get a bad storm.
Yep.
Here we go.
You got a big spider there. Spider picture.
Oh. Oh, the little garden spiders.
Yeah.
They are a lot of fun to feed grasshoppers too.
Yep.
Oh, it's nice and cool in here.
Yeah. And when we had the sod roof on it, it stayed
Even cooler.
Yeah.
I believe it.
But, we don't have enough volunteers now to keep putting the sod on the roof. It washes off in about 3 years.
Yep. It's hard to maintain.
Yeah.
Does it flood in here whenever we get rain? No?
No, all the drainage around it is just great. We
Wow.
got a little wet spot right here, and I don't know where it came in really,
Yeah.
but that's the only
Only
wet
spot.
that we've noticed in it.
That's incredible.
building her art studio.
Oh, wow.
She wanted some barnwood in that. Well, the carpenter told her if her and Dan, her husband, would tear the wood off, clean the nails and so on, he'd use the wood and line this one room with it, or a couple of walls anyhow. And so, as they were tearing down the barn, they found the iron pieces of that windmill.
Oh.
And coincidentally, there was an article, which I had in that book, I should have showed it to you, that came out in the Oklahoma City paper about Marvin Stinson, the fellow that rebuilt that.
Oh.
She contacted him. He had other windmills that he had rebuilt, and he, in the last paragraph of that little article, it said he wanted to start a museum, even if he had to do it himself.
Oh.
So, anyhow, she offered to help him. So,
Oh, wow.
and that's how our museum got started. And, I was telling your husband about the Curry windmill built in Topeka, Kansas by a fella that thought anyone should be able to afford a windmill. So he built her just as cheap as he could, and it turned out to be pretty durable.
Wow.
So the bearings entered our wood. On this one here is open geared. The one outside is
Closed.
actually, enclosed. It's got the weld. And so.
Well, this says over here, the annual oil. Does that mean that it only needs oil once a year?
That was their
claim.
selling point, their claim.
If you had to climb up there, it's a big deal.